The massive alien ship appeared without warning, materializing above New York City in a flash of blue light. Its dark metal hull stretched for miles, casting an ominous shadow over the bustling metropolis below. Emergency sirens wailed as millions of citizens stopped to stare at humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. Inside the United Nations building, world leaders gathered in an emergency session. The alien transmission had been brief and clear: submit or face extinction. General Robert Stone stood at the back of the room, his weathered face showing no emotion as diplomats argued about how to respond. After 40 years in special forces, he knew that sometimes talking wasn't enough. The alien ambassador, a tall creature with gray scales and 4 arms, finally appeared before the UN Assembly. "I am Commander Drall of the Galactic Federation," it announced through a translator device. "Your species is primitive. Your weapons are basic. Your defenses are weak. Submit now, and we will be merciful." General Stone watched as the world's diplomats tried to reason with the alien. They offered peace treaties, trade agreements, and cultural exchange programs, but Commander Drall dismissed every proposal with a wave of his upper arms. "We have conquered 1,000 worlds," Drall boasted. "None have ever resisted successfully. Your species will serve as labor in our mines, nothing more." That's when General Stone stepped forward. "Commander," he said quietly, "I suggest you research Earth's military history before making threats." Drall turned all 4 of his eyes toward the general. "You dare to challenge the Federation? Your projectile weapons and crude explosives are no match for our energy weapons and shield technology." Stone smiled slightly. "We've been fighting wars since we could pick up sticks. Each conflict taught us something new. We've mastered fighting in every environment: deserts, jungles, mountains, urban centers. We've developed tactics you've never imagined." The alien commander laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. "Primitive combat experience means nothing against our advanced technology." "Technology isn't everything," Stone replied. "Human soldiers train in ways your people have never considered. We have units specifically designed for impossible missions, men and women who can survive anywhere, adapt to any situation, and find ways to complete their objective against all odds." Drall's scales darkened in what might have been anger or amusement. "You have 24 Earth hours to submit. After that, we begin our invasion. Your special warriors will die like all the others who resisted us." As the alien shimmed away in a beam of light, General Stone turned to address the assembly. "Ladies and gentlemen, I suggest we show our visitors why picking a fight with humanity was a very bad idea." Within hours, military bases worldwide went on high alert. In underground bunkers and secret facilities, elite combat units prepared for battle. They had trained for countless scenarios, but this would be their greatest test. The next day, exactly 24 hours later, the alien ships began their descent. They expected an easy victory, just like their 1,000 conquests before. Their scans showed primitive defensive positions, outdated weapons, and no energy shields. What their scans couldn't show was the centuries of combat experience coded into human DNA. They couldn't detect the indomitable spirit that had helped humanity survive everything nature and their own wars had thrown at them. Most importantly, they couldn't measure the determination of Earth's Special Forces operators, who were already moving into position. As Commander Drall prepared to announce the beginning of Earth's conquest, he had no idea that human combat units were about to teach the Galactic Federation a lesson they would never forget. The aliens thought technology made them invincible. They were about to learn that the most dangerous weapon in the universe was a human being with proper training and an impossible mission. The stage was set for a conflict that would change the galaxy forever. The first alien dropship landed in an empty field outside Detroit. Commander Drall had chosen this location for its first ground assault, expecting minimal resistance from what he considered a backward human city. His troops, towering warriors in powered armor suits, marched out with weapons ready. "No signs of human military presence," reported the squad leader. This will be an easy victory. They were wrong. In the shadows of abandoned buildings, a team of 12 human operators watched silently. Captain Mike Thompson, leader of Delta Team, had positioned his people perfectly. 20 years of urban warfare experience had taught him patience. Let the enemy get comfortable. Let them think they're safe. The aliens moved in a tight formation, their heavy armor clanking against broken concrete. They carried energy rifles that could melt through tank armor, but they moved like parade ground soldiers, predictable, rigid, and completely unprepared for what was coming. Thompson pressed his radio button twice. 2 clicks. The signal. Suddenly, the ground beneath the alien formation exploded. Not with bombs. That would have been too obvious, too expected. Instead, the carefully weakened road collapsed, sending half the alien squad tumbling into the city's old maintenance tunnels. Before the remaining aliens could react, human operators attacked from multiple directions. They moved like shadows, using decades of CQC, close quarters combat, training to their advantage. The aliens' advanced armor meant nothing when human soldiers struck at joint sections and weak points they had identified during their brief observation. "Impossible," shouted the alien squad leader as he watched his troops fall. "Their weapons are primitive." But it wasn't about the weapons. Thompson's team used everything at their disposal. Flashbang grenades that overloaded alien sensory systems, grappling techniques that turned the aliens' powered armor against them, and combat experience that no amount of technology could match. One alien managed to call for reinforcements. Under attack. Humans using unknown combat techniques. They're inside our formation. There. The transmission cut off as Thompson personally took down the alien with a textbook joint lock, using the creature's own momentum to slam it into the ground. Within minutes, the entire alien squad was neutralized. Thompson's team had suffered no casualties. "Control, this is Delta Leader," Thompson reported. "First contact complete. Enemy combat doctrine is heavily dependent on technology. They have no close combat training. No unit cohesion when formation is broken. No adaptability." Similar reports began coming in from around the world. In the jungles of Brazil, human special forces ambushed alien patrols, using the dense vegetation to nullify their advanced sensors. In the mountains of Nepal, elite Gurkha units demonstrated why they were legendary mountain fighters, leaving aliens baffled by their ability to appear and disappear at will. Back on his command ship, Commander Dral received the reports with growing alarm. How is this possible? They're using projectile weapons and primitive explosives. Their armor is barely more advanced than animal hide compared to ours. His tactical officer, visibly shaken, displayed holographic images from the battles. "Sir, the humans, they fight differently. They don't follow any combat protocols we've encountered. They adapt instantly, use their environment as a weapon, and seem to anticipate our every move. Send in the heavy assault units," Dral commanded. "They cannot stand against our most advanced warriors." But even as he gave the order, more reports flooded in. Human operators had captured an alien dropship intact. They were already learning to use its systems, turning Federation technology against its makers. Special forces teams worldwide were sharing tactical data, developing new strategies to counter alien advantages. The Federation had expected to crush primitive warriors. Instead, they had awakened humanity's most elite fighters, men and women who had turned combat into an art form. As the sun set on the first day of ground combat, one thing became clear. The aliens' technological superiority meant nothing against human skill, adaptability, and the kind of combat experience that only comes from a species that had been fighting and evolving for thousands of years. The real war was just beginning. In the Federation's primary analysis chamber, Chief Strategist Vex stared at combat recordings with all four hands clenched in frustration. Holographic displays showed human special forces units destroying alien squads with ruthless efficiency. "I don't understand," he muttered, replaying a scene where human operators took down a Federation heavy assault unit. "Their tactics defy all known combat logic." Meanwhile, on Earth, Lieutenant James Wilson led his team through the wreckage of an alien vessel they had captured. The massive ship lay broken in the Arizona desert, its advanced technology now serving as a training ground for Earth's elite warriors. "Check every corner," Wilson ordered as his team moved through the alien corridors. "Learn everything. How their doors open, how their systems work, what their weapons can do. Everything can be used against them." Back in the Federation analysis chamber, Vex watched a new recording. A human team in the Arctic had used the freezing environment to their advantage, somehow predicting that alien armor would lock up in extreme cold. The humans had deliberately led the aliens across thin ice, then shattered it with precisely placed charges. "Sir," a junior analyst reported, "we've discovered something disturbing. These humans, they practice combat as if it were an art form. They have thousands of different fighting styles, each adapted to specific situations. They even fight for sport." Vex's scales paled. "For sport? You mean they voluntarily engage in combat when not necessary?" "Yes, sir. And that's not all. They're special forces teams. They train constantly. They simulate every possible scenario. They deliberately make their training harder than actual combat." On Earth, Wilson's team had mastered the alien weapon systems. They discovered that Federation energy rifles, while powerful, had a fatal flaw. They couldn't be quickly reloaded in the field. The humans modified their tactics accordingly, forcing aliens to waste shots and then striking when they were most vulnerable. "Command, this is Reaper Team," Wilson reported. "We've figured out their shield technology. It's strong against energy weapons, but has a critical weakness against kinetic impacts. Uploading data now." Within hours, Special Forces teams worldwide began adapting their weapons and tactics. Simple kinetic weapons, enhanced versions of traditional firearms, proved devastating against alien shields calibrated for energy attacks. The humans' ability to rapidly share and implement new tactics left the aliens stumbling to adapt. In orbit, Commander Drell received more troubling reports. Human teams had begun using captured alien technology in ways the Federation had never considered. They combined their primitive but reliable tools with advanced alien tech, creating hybrid weapons and tactics that even Federation scientists hadn't imagined. "They're learning too fast," Drell shouted at his staff. "How do they adapt so quickly?" The answer came from Vex's analysis team. "Sir, it's their history. These humans have never stopped fighting. Each generation learned from the last, preserving knowledge of what works and discarding what doesn't. Their elite units carry the combined combat experience of thousands of years." A new recording appeared on the main screen. A Federation heavy walker, a massive war machine that had conquered dozens of worlds, lay destroyed in the ruins of London. The humans had utilized their knowledge of urban warfare, their understanding of the city's underground tunnels, and their ability to coordinate complex attacks to bring down a vehicle that should have been invincible. "Look at how they moved," Vex pointed out. "No wasted motion, no hesitation. Every human knew exactly what to do, adapting instantly when plans change. This isn't just training. This is evolution." As the Federation struggled to understand their enemy, Earth's special forces continued to evolve their tactics. Each encounter provided new lessons, new weaknesses to exploit. The humans' greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their technology. It was their endless capacity to adapt, to learn, and to overcome. The Federation had awakened a sleeping giant, and now they were learning why so many human combat units had mottos like "Who dares, wins," and "The only easy day was yesterday." The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's elite warriors hadn't just trained for war. They had perfected it. Commander Drell stood on the bridge of his flagship, the largest vessel in the Federation fleet. The massive ship hung in Earth's orbit like a metal moon, bristling with weapons that could reduce cities to ash. This was his last chance to prove human forces could be defeated. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "All ships, target their major military installations." But the humans had been waiting for this moment. Deep within the oceans near Japan, a stealth submarine surfaced silently. Its cargo, 4 teams of elite combat operators, each prepared for what many considered a suicide mission. Their target, Commander Drell's flagship itself. "Remember," Captain Tom Reed told his teams, "we only get one shot at this. Everything we've learned about their technology, their tactics, their weaknesses, it all comes down to this moment." The plan was bold, perhaps even insane by Federation standards. While alien ships bombarded empty military bases, the human operators would use captured alien transport technology to infiltrate the flagship. The Federation would never expect such a direct assault on their command vessel. The infiltration began smoothly. Using data gathered from previous battles, human technicians had modified alien teleporters to bypass Federation security systems. The Special Forces teams materialized in the flagship's lower maintenance sections, exactly as planned. "They really don't guard these areas," Reed whispered as his team moved through the corridors. "They rely too much on their automated defenses." The human operators moved like ghosts through the massive ship. Their modified combat suits, a hybrid of human design and stolen alien tech, made them nearly invisible to Federation sensors. Years of stealth training combined with captured alien stealth systems created something entirely new: warriors who could move unseen through the most advanced security in the galaxy. Alarms finally blared when the first Federation security team died silently, their armor's weak points exploited by precise human strikes. But by then, it was too late. "Intruder alert!" The cry echoed through the ship's corridors. "Human forces have breached." The announcement cut off as human operators took control of the communication systems. Commander Drell's bridge erupted in chaos. Reports came in from all decks. Human operators appearing from nowhere, defeating elite Federation guards in close combat, seizing critical systems. The aliens had no defense against enemies who understood their technology, but fought with unpredictable human tactics. "How did they get aboard?" Drell roared. "Where are they coming from?" His answer came when the bridge doors exploded inward. Captain Reed's team burst through the smoke, moving with practiced precision. Federation guards raised their weapons, but the humans were already among them, striking at weak points, using the aliens' own momentum against them. Drell watched in shock as his bridge crew fell to these human warriors. Their movements were nothing like the crude combat his analysts had predicted. This was something else. An art form developed over countless human conflicts, perfected through endless training, and enhanced with stolen Federation technology. "Stop!" Drell raised his hands as Reed's team surrounded him. "How? How did you do this?" Reed's response was calm, professional. "You thought technology made you invincible. We've spent thousands of years learning that no defense is perfect. No enemy is unbeatable. There's always a way. You just have to be willing to train harder, think smarter, and risk everything." Across Earth, Federation forces received the news of their commander's capture. The mighty alien fleet, which had never known defeat, hung motionless in orbit as human operators took control of ship after ship. The Federation's greatest advantage, its advanced technology, had become its greatest weakness in the hands of human special forces. This was more than just a victory. It was proof that humanity's elite warriors could defeat any enemy, overcome any technology, and adapt to any challenge. The Federation had expected to crush a primitive species. Instead, they had discovered that no amount of advanced technology could match the combat experience, adaptability, and sheer determination of humanity's finest warriors. The galaxy would never be the same. News of Commander Drell's capture spread through the galaxy like a supernova. On 1,000 worlds, Federation citizens watched in disbelief as recordings of human combat operations played on their information networks. The images were both terrifying and fascinating. Small teams of human operators taking down Federation forces with a combination of skill and strategy that seemed impossible. In the Federation's Grand Council chamber on their capital world, military leaders struggled to explain their defeat. "Show us again," demanded Council Leader Crix, his crystalline form glowing with anger. "Show us how these humans defeated our best forces." The holographic display activated, showing Captain Reed's team capturing the flagship. Federation analysts had added detailed breakdowns of human combat techniques, but even with the footage slowed down and enhanced, the movements seemed too fast, too precise to follow. "Their basic tactics are thousands of years old," explained one military expert, "but they've refined them to perfection. Look here." The image froze on a human operator disabling an alien guard. "They don't just understand our weaknesses. They understand leverage, momentum, and combat psychology in ways we never considered." On a distant mining world, a group of enslaved aliens watched smuggled footage of human special forces in action. They saw humans using Federation technology against its makers, adapting alien weapons to work with Earth combat techniques. "If humans can defeat them," whispered one slave to another, "maybe we can learn to fight back too." Similar conversations happened across Federation space. Species that had lived under alien rule for generations began to question their master's power. Some even sent secret messages to Earth, requesting training from human combat instructors. Back on Earth, General Stone met with representatives from 20 different alien species. Each wanted to learn how humans had accomplished the impossible. "We've observed your warriors," said an ambassador from a recently liberated world. "They move like water, adapting to any situation. Our young ones tell stories about human operators appearing from nowhere, defeating entire Federation squadrons without making a sound." Stone smiled. "Those stories are spreading faster than we expected. The Federation tried to suppress them, but every suppressed story only makes humans seem more impressive," interrupted another ambassador. "Is it true that your special forces train every day, even in peacetime?" "Of course," Stone replied. "That's why we won. The Federation relied on technology. We rely on constant training, adaptation, and the drive to improve." Meanwhile, in Federation military academies, everything was changing. Combat instructors who had once taught only technology-based warfare now studied human hand-to-hand techniques. Young alien warriors practiced moving silently, fighting without powered armor, and thinking creatively in combat situations. But it wasn't enough. Federation forces had lost more than battles. They had lost their aura of invincibility. Wherever their ships appeared, people remembered how human operators had infiltrated their flagship. Their threats no longer carried the same weight when everyone had seen how their invincible forces fell to human special forces. On a Federation border world, a young alien cadet watched his instructor demonstrate a human combat move. "Why didn't we fight like this before?" the cadet asked. The instructor, a veteran of the Earth campaign, shook his head. "We thought technology made us superior. Humans taught us that true combat power comes from here." He touched his head, and here he placed a hand over his heart. "Their warriors trained their bodies and minds together, creating something greater than any weapon." The news continued to spread. Recordings of human combat operations became the most watched content in Federation space. Young aliens began imitating human special forces, practicing their movements, studying their tactics. Some even added human military phrases to their language. The Federation had wanted to show the galaxy their power by conquering Earth. Instead, they had revealed something far more significant: the incredible capabilities of human combat forces. Their defeat hadn't just changed the balance of power, it had started a revolution in how the galaxy thought about warfare, training, and the true meaning of combat excellence. And this was only the beginning. 6 months after Commander Drell's capture, the Federation's High Command gathered for an unprecedented meeting. The massive chamber, once decorated with trophies from conquered worlds, now displayed images of human combat training techniques. "We must adapt or die," declared High Admiral Vox, who had replaced Drell. "Our entire military doctrine was proven obsolete by human special forces." On the main display, footage showed Federation troops training in a new facility. They wore lightweight armor instead of powered suits, practiced hand-to-hand combat, and learned to think independently in battle. Most surprisingly, their instructors were human combat veterans. "Watch how they move now," Vox pointed to the training soldiers. "No more rigid formations, no more total reliance on technology. They're learning to fight like humans." But the changes went far beyond just combat training. The Federation's entire approach to warfare had to be rebuilt from the ground up. Ships that once depended solely on automated systems now had trained boarding defense teams. Security forces that used to stand still and shoot were learning human-style dynamic combat movements. Lieutenant Wilson, now serving as head instructor at the Federation's premier military academy, watched his alien students practice close combat techniques. Again, he shouted as two alien cadets sparred, "Remember what I taught you. Technology can fail, but proper training never does. Your body and mind are your most reliable weapons." The Federation's military transformation had unprecedented effects. Species that once relied entirely on genetic engineering or cybernetic enhancements began exploring natural combat abilities. Warriors who had never thrown a punch were learning the art of hand-to-hand combat. In orbit around a Federation training world, Captain Reed supervised a joint special forces exercise. Human operators worked alongside alien warriors, teaching them the skills that had defeated their fleet. "Your technology is impressive," Reed told his alien students, "but it's just a tool. True combat excellence comes from here." He tapped his temple. "Strategy, adaptation, the will to never give up. These are what make a real warrior." The Federation Council received weekly reports on the military's transformation. Early results were promising. Units trained in human combat techniques showed massive improvements in effectiveness. They could fight with or without technology, adapt to unexpected situations, and think creatively in combat. "Look at these results," High Admiral Vox presented to the Council. "Our new hybrid units, combining our technology with human combat doctrine, are 3 times more effective than our old forces, and they're still improving." But the most significant change was in how the Federation viewed combat itself. It was no longer just about having the best weapons or the strongest shields. They began to understand what humans had known for millennia, that combat was an art form, a skill to be constantly refined and improved. In the Federation's capital city, a new monument was erected. It showed a human operator and an alien warrior standing together, symbolizing the new era of galactic military cooperation. Below it, words in multiple languages read, "Technology empowers, but training prevails." The Federation's oldest general, a veteran of 100 conquests, watched young alien warriors practicing human combat moves in a training yard. "I've lived long enough to see the impossible," he told his aide. "We thought we were teaching the galaxy to fight. Instead, a species we called primitive taught us what real combat means." On Earth, General Stone reviewed reports from across Federation space. Requests for human combat instructors were pouring in from every sector. Species that had never fought before wanted to learn. Warriors who thought they knew everything about combat were starting over as beginners. "We didn't just win a war," Stone remarked to his staff. "We sparked a revolution in how the galaxy thinks about combat." The Federation, once known for crushing worlds through sheer technological might, was transforming into something new, a civilization that understood the true meaning of combat excellence. And it was all because they had made the mistake of underestimating humanity's elite warriors. The galaxy would never be the same. 1 year after Earth's victory, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The massive Federation military headquarters on their capital world now bore a new name: the Earth Federation Joint Combat Academy. Above its entrance, a simple phrase captured humanity's impact on galactic warfare: "Victory favors the trained." Inside the Academy's main training hall, Captain Reed watched as instructors from Earth's various special forces units trained the galaxy's most promising warriors. Navy SEALs taught underwater combat to amphibious species. Army Rangers showed mountain warfare techniques to aliens who had never considered fighting without vehicles. Special Forces operators demonstrated unconventional warfare to beings that once relied solely on brute force. "Look at them now," Reed said to General Stone, who was visiting for the Academy's first graduation ceremony. A year ago, they thought combat was just about having better guns. The training floor buzzed with activity. Alien warriors practiced human martial arts, learned to move silently despite their varied physiologies, and studied Earth's military history. Most importantly, they were learning to think like human operators, to adapt, improvise, and overcome any challenge. In orbit, the Federation's newest warship demonstrated the changing times. Its crew included both alien and human personnel. The ship itself represented a perfect blend of Federation technology and human combat philosophy. Advanced weapons combined with training facilities, close combat areas, and systems designed for both technological and physical warfare. "Show me the combat readiness stats," ordered High Admiral Vox during an inspection. The results made him smile. Ships with human-trained crews showed 300% better performance in battle simulations compared to the old Federation standards. But the changes went far beyond just military matters. Earth had become the galaxy's center for combat training and military education. Species that had been enemies for generations now trained together, learning that true combat excellence knew no racial or planetary boundaries. In the Academy's tactical planning room, alien cadets studied footage from humanity's military history. They analyzed everything from ancient battles to modern special forces operations, learning how humans had turned combat into both a science and an art. "We thought we were advanced," a senior Federation instructor told his class, "but humans showed us that true advancement comes from constant training, adaptation, and the willingness to learn from every experience." The Federation Council had undergone its own transformation. Once focused on conquest through technological superiority, they now understood the value of balanced military power. Their forces were no longer just well-equipped. They were well-trained, adaptable, and ready for any challenge. On Earth, the Pentagon hosted the first Galactic Military Summit. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to share combat techniques, training methods, and military philosophy. The event symbolized how far things had come, from facing alien invasion to teaching the galaxy about true combat excellence. A year ago, General Stone addressed the summit. "We fought against the Federation. Today, we train together, learn from each other, and build a stronger galaxy through shared knowledge and experience." The galaxy's transformation had surprised everyone, even humans. What started as a desperate defense of Earth had evolved into a complete reimagining of galactic military doctrine. Special Forces teams that once prepared for Earth's last stand now led the galaxy's most prestigious combat training programs. In the Academy's graduation ceremony, human and alien warriors stood together. They had completed the galaxy's most demanding combat training program, combining the best of human experience with advanced alien technology. "Remember," Captain Reed told the graduates, "technology changes, but the fundamentals of combat excellence remain the same. Train hard, adapt constantly, never stop learning, and always be ready." As the ceremony ended, news arrived from distant galaxy sectors. More worlds wanted to join the new Earth Federation alliance. More species wanted to learn human combat techniques. The revolution that started with humanity's elite warriors defending Earth had become a movement that transformed the galaxy. The Federation had wanted to conquer Earth. Instead, they discovered something far more valuable, the true meaning of combat excellence. And now, under humanity's guidance, the galaxy was stronger, safer, and better prepared than ever before. The future had never looked brighter.